Hey guys, my name is Dran, and I know, my character design could be improved. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I do that. But disclaimer, I'm not a pro character designer. I'm not really a pro at anything. This is just how I tackle character design and the methods I use. If anything I share helps you out or gives you a cool new idea to try, then that's great. Yay, happy yay! So without further ado, let's start. When I've got nothing, I try to feel out what kind of character I either want to make or what the story needs if I had a story I was in the middle of writing. For this video, I'll use my own characters as examples since, well, this is how I do it. So as an example, when I was making Zombie Sword Girl, my manga, I knew from the get-go I was inspired by characters like Kobeni, and I wanted my own version of that. Not necessarily Chainsaw Man, but just Kobeni. She's really funny. The kind of archetype I wanted to make was a girl loser that tries really hard to be cute, but ends up being more creepy than anything else. The next step was to figure out what I want them to be. Daniel, what do you mean? What I mean is, what are they? What do they do? Who are they? Get the baseline down, dumbass. I imagine it sort of like how when you're making a character in a role-playing game like Skyrim, you're choosing stuff like their class, their race, right? You can go as in-depth as you want, but for what I'm doing, I simply landed on this character being a vampire. Reason being is part of the initial idea for this character was, what if a degen loser type of character lived for hundreds of years? How delusional and insane would someone get after dealing with mental issues for so long, especially going unchecked? And is there any hope in saving them, or are they too far gone? This character is basically a mentally ill vampire, but the type of vampire that's pristine looking yet has the most messed up head. So anyway, from here, we start conceptualizing, thinking, sketching, and Googling to reach another baseline for an idea of how I want them to look. This is a visual representation of what that looks like. Fucking sweet, dude. The important thing about this is to keep it simple. It's way easier to add than remove, so I take it one step at a time. Through this is also where I would envision exactly what a character like this would look like. So if instead of a vampire girl loser, I wanted a knight, I'd add muscle definition, a rough face, etc, etc. It helps build character and gives good ideas to work off of. Now, it's important to note that sometimes I might skip this step, specifically the sketching step, if I'm not feeling inspired enough or lacking ideas in the old fuel tank here. If I'm feeling like this, then I will just skip on to the next step. The next step is when the fun part begins. But before the fun part begins, there's an even more fun part to discuss. It's subscribing. Yes, I did notice the subscribe button did a little animation too, yeah. If you've been enjoying the videos, subscribe, that'd be cool. Like, you know, all that stuff. Thank you anyway. We go inspiration hunting now, and I'd argue this is probably the most important part of creating a cool and interesting character, not only for yourself, but for people reading and analyzing this character. Personally, this is what I do. I'll go on Pinterest and Google to gather inspo pics, I'll play some games, watch movies, TV shows, anime. Literally, whenever I get a hunch for a design that I want to go for, is where I go. Yes, this can mean I go to Seinfeld for character design inspiration. Yeah, I'm not really making that up, I have done that before. What are you booing me for? It's a good show! After I've collected a good amount of inspiration, I'll then put it in a folder for said character, label it inspo, and essentially organize and review this folder until it makes up the core identity of the character. If I can confidently gather 4 pictures side by side that represent this character, then I know I've done it. Now for Marie, the character I've been talking about, this is basically what that looks like, or what it started off as anyway. While this may not be everything to the character, these 4 serve as a reference to build off of, if that makes sense. Again, you can find your own method for how you want to build this character up. It certainly doesn't have to be as visual as mine. As an example, some people make gigantic character sheets, and while I have done these before, sometimes a picture or video speaks 1,000 words. And what that means is I ain't reading all that, bro. I'm just not. Don't get me wrong, I still make character sheets describing said character's likes and dislikes and all that fun stuff, but I make sure to keep it brief. It's not like a novel about this character, unless I guess it needs to be. It depends, but even then, I keep it brief. Thankfully, none of you have to read my character sheets. You can just learn about my character by reading my manga, Zombie Sword Girl, link is in the description. Before we move on, if you like manga, webtoons, comics, or just drawing, I've got a Discord server full of people like you to come hang out with. You can talk to me and know what's going on with my manga, and YouTube of course. Here's some fan art from people in the server. It's really cool. The link is in the description. Okay, thanks. Moving on. Sorry. And now, we come back to the canvas. After letting the brain absorb who this little freak is, I can then figure some things out. Who exactly are they? What would they wear? Why would they wear what they wear? I like to get into the nitty-gritty and really understand why the character has details that they do. Everything I put on the character has a reason for being there. Not just body, but clothes too. It can range from that's simply the character's preference in fashion to some remnant from their past. For Marie, this outfit was initially the one I chose, and the reason why I chose this outfit was because, as you might have already figured out by now, is because this character is insecure. She wants to hide herself, only really caring about the comfort, not really thinking about it as a I want to look good outfit. Even later in the story where she goes on a date, she's still mostly covered up. It can also double as the kind of outfit you wear when you're trying not to be seen, and maybe on some creep activities, as Marie does in the story. There's more I could say, but that's the gist of it. I didn't really want to refer to it as a girl loser outfit, though I guess that's a thing now, like loser core. I found this while making this video, and it looks like I pretty much got to where I wanted this character to be, so that's cool. One thing though that I do want to say is that sometimes the character you make can evolve from their original beta version. This also means that their outfits and personalities might change too from where they start. Unless the character is strictly static, I don't really think it's a bad thing. I've noticed on the other hand that I enjoy dynamic characters, so I tend to lean towards them more. And finally, along the way, I also update any writing on them, lore, traits, etc. Afterwards, more fun stuff, yay. This is the part where I'll polish up their design even further beyond. I might sometimes feel this part isn't necessary, but it's definitely good to tackle a design at least one more time. Really look at it, maybe share it with a friend for feedback, anything really. Some of the things I do are adding functional details to the clothing, accessories, really whatever is on there. To give an example, adding stuff like seams to regular clothing, adding belts or straps, adding additional details on any metallic accessories perhaps, and of course making their shoes look cool. I gotta have them J's on. I like looking at characters that have outfits that look like they make sense in the real world. Almost like if someone wanted to cosplay them, they could reasonably do so without having to get some clothes that they'll never wear outside of events. But I will say I can still improve in this area, so definitely spice up your own designs beyond regular clothing. Another thing I do is the classic silhouette test. How recognizable are they just by the silhouette alone? Mind you, they don't have to be so unique, but unique enough from everybody else. And for Marie, I'd say I did a relatively good job. You already know it's her from her bed hair, along with having one exaggerated hair going up, almost like it looks like a demon horn. I wonder why I put that there. It's almost like she's fucking evil or something. The last method I do is if the world I'm making is really specific or has a certain theme to it, I'll adjust whatever I made to fit the world it's in. For my manga, Zombie Sword Girl, it's taking place in a timeline similar to the real world, but with supernatural elements that are hidden away. What this means is, the clothing is all supposed to be fairly realistic. Even villains and others might sometimes wear some real-world fashionable things, even though there's a lot of crazy stuff hidden beneath. Best way I can describe Marie's fashion sense is like a 90s grunge sort of thing. And finally, I'll draw the character out on a page to get used to drawing them, but also to explore them visually, and this page was the result of that. That's how I made this character. Is she going to stay like this? Probably not. Honestly, the more I explore this character, the more cool outfits I want her to wear and try out, especially something that plays around her being a vampire. She's fun to draw, so I'm gonna keep spicing it up. If you picked up anything from this video to use in your own work, then I'm happy. If not, then whatever, I guess. If you have your own method in creating characters, feel free to share. I'd love to read. There's definitely not one way up the mountain for this sort of thing. If you want to read my manga, Zombie Sword Girl, and see Marie in action, my manga is in the description. If you liked hearing me yap about this, then please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out, and okay, bye.